What is up, y'all? And welcome back to episode 26 of That's No Moon Pod. Might have a little quick episode here today. Still plan on doing another episode on Wednesday and dropping it on the same day. But I just got out of the theater, just saw Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and I want to talk about it because I really like this movie a lot. Definitely better than Volume 2. Guardians 1 has a specific place in my heart just because I remember seeing it for the first time and not catching it in the theaters because I wasn't familiar with any of the characters. And I don't know, at the time, for whatever reason, there was a lot of MCU movies that I just missed in theaters for some reason. I saw the majority of them, but I remember missing out on um, Guardians Volume 1 for some reason, just because, I don't know, just wasn't familiar with anything, just like a lot of people were back in the day when that first movie dropped. But Volume 1 for sure is still one of my favorite MCU movies. And this one, not gonna lie, it's pretty close to being within top 5 range, for sure in the top 10. And honestly, I'd say it probably cracks my top 8. If you give me a minute here, I could try and possibly rank all these at the end of the episode, but let me just talk about the movie more. Um, I was kind of wondering what the story was going to be about because I felt that the trailers for this movie kind of gave away too much, especially when it came with certain scenes that deal with Rocket. Um, this whole movie is pretty much centered around Rocket. He's, I'd say, the main character. Um, by the way, full spoilers. If you haven't seen it, I'm sorry, but like I said, I just walked out of the theater and I want to talk about this movie. Um, there's a lot of disturbing scenes, I would say, with Rocket and the High Evolutionary, the villain in this movie, who, by the way, the same actor from Peacemaker plays the High Evolutionary in this movie, the main villain. And this has got to be one of the craziest, creepiest MCU villains that there's been in quite some time. I really liked what the actor brought. Kind of thought sometimes he screamed too much at certain points, but I get it. He's like the crazy, mad scientist kind of guy who wants all this godly power or whatever. Um, but I thought he killed it, and I thought that just the way his makeup looked and his outfit designs and just the way he kind of portrayed himself throughout this whole film, he really made you hate him, not just for what he was doing to Rocket, and as we see all these other different species of animals and little kids and just crazy sadistic things that this guy's doing to these living creatures, and Rocket being one of them. Seeing him being a little raccoon trapped in a cage with all these experimented on animals. There's just a lot of scenes that really make you want to, if you have a pet of your own, um, it just really wishes you had them in your arms at that moment while watching this movie because it's nothing too, I would say, violent, but it's just a lot of scenes that just make you like how those commercials that show on TV with the animals and they're all, skinny or they're cold, wet with the sad music and whatever, the infomercials. That's kind of how a lot of the scenes make you feel while watching certain ones with Rocket when he was young and seeing what he had to go through with the High Evolutionary and just being experimented on. Um, but at the same time, it just made you really hate the High Evolutionary and the villain. And once we see what ends up happening to him, and kind of he ends up getting his, of course, at the end. You really feel relieved that this guy is, he got what he deserved and then some. Um, I'm trying to think of what my favorite part of the movie was, scene wise, I guess. Um, if I think about it, I'm pretty sure it'll come to mind because I remember watching the movie at the time, just a few hours ago, and this specific moment happens where I was like, "Oh, that was the coolest scene." That was definitely my favorite scene in the movie so far. Um, there's a lot of cool montages to where slow mo explosions in the background with the Guardians walking up towards the camera together. The soundtrack, of course, is always going to be on point when it comes to James Gunn. Um, I thought this movie really felt different compared to not only the other two Guardians movies, but um, for the most part, it felt a lot different than a lot of the MCU movies that we're used to, especially recently. Just like the style of certain shots, just that James Gunn flair that he has with um, obviously the comedic elements throughout, but just kind of capturing cool moments throughout with the visuals and not only just the CGI, but just he knows how to work the camera and get the shots that obviously look the coolest, but are different at the same time from what we've been getting in the MCU. Um, I really enjoyed that aspect of the movie. It really made me excited for more James Gunn films in the DC universe. Um, because I really felt that the tones and the comedic elements and obviously the visuals of this movie were just a breath of fresh air compared to what we got in um, Ant-Man Quantumania and Thor Love and Thunder and Doctor Strange and all these movies that we've gotten recently from the MCU. This one definitely stands out on its own. And I think if you may be going with someone that may not be as hip to the MCU as you are, or don't know anything about the Guardians, I think anyone could find enjoyment in this movie. Um, just let there be known that there is some pretty uncomfortable scenes when it comes to Rocket. So if you have a sensitivity to those kind of visuals with animals, which I'm sure a lot of people do, um, I would definitely maybe wait for this one to come out on Disney Plus or something. But um, yeah, like I said, James Gunn hit it out the park with this one, and he had to because he's gone. He's on DC team now, so he wanted to go out with a bang with this one. This is the last of the Guardian movies, so he really wanted to put a stamp on this franchise from where he brought it up from at the beginning. Um, and it kind of go back to more of Rocket and kind of just his origin story. Um, it really hits you in the feels when you see all the animals with him, the friends that he makes throughout, and just seeing the little Rocket that we all know just being this innocent, cute little animal, and then now he's just this loud, obnoxious, crazy, just animal now that we know him, but we still love him because he's Rocket. And even though he tries to hide it, he definitely has a big heart for such a little animal. And that's why we've fallen in love with this CGI raccoon. Um, just the way they kind of handled his come up, and then seeing how he eventually escapes, and uh, just that crazy scene with him and the High Evolutionary when he just gets on his face and just starts going crazy with his claws and pretty much just destroys his face and gets payback for what he did to his friends, the High Evolutionary, just killing all of his buddies right in front of him, and knowing that the only way to get out of here is if he escapes and steals this ship. And then from that point on, he eventually finds the Guardians, and that's kind of where we see him now. But except in this movie, Adam Warlock comes through right at the beginning and almost takes out Rocket. So the whole movie, he's pretty much just on a ventilator, um, and they're just trying to find a way to save Rocket from dying, and also killing this guy that did all this to him in the first place, which is a pretty cool story, pretty simple but unique at the same time for the MCU. Um, like I said, everything about this movie was just more of a breath of fresh air. It still had some moments in it that kind of reminded me of the MCU, or the not so good parts of the MCU recently. A little bit with I don't know, kind of with the kids at the end who the High Evolutionary had. It kind of gave me a little bit of Thor: Love and Thunder flashbacks, and I wasn't really feeling that too much. I kind of felt like they could have just kept it with the animals having to be saved instead of all these, random kids. But um, small gripe. That's one small gripe I would say I had as well. As the High Evolutionary, just kind of being too loud sometimes, dude. It's like, we get it. You don't gotta be screaming. Why you yelling? But like I said, he still killed it. Um, Batista, as always, is hilarious. You just gravitate to him when he's on screen, when he says these funny little lines, and just the humor and the chemistry between him and Mantis is just always funny, especially when you see the Christmas special, just kind of their relationship and how the whole Guardians as a whole, how they are bonding at this point after obviously losing Gamora and her kind of obviously coming back into the scene with them, but now she's a Ravager, which I gotta admit, I've always loved Zoe Saldana. I didn't think she could look better in green as she did, but as a Ravager, that's what's up. I love Gamora in this movie, even though she doesn't have a whole lot to do besides kind of see the things that the crew is kind of trying to tell her, and all the good times and who she really is in the inside. And um, I really like that aspect of the movie between her and um, Peter Quill, because if they made them fall back in love at the end, or just kind of, you could tell they obviously like have a thing for each other in this movie again, but it's not to the point to where she's gonna stop what she's been doing and just fall back and go with the crew and Peter again, because that would really kind of take away from her death. Um, and I'm glad they didn't do that, because those scenes with her and Peter in Infinity War, and just the way their stories kind of play out is some of my favorite parts of that movie. And I thought they did a really good job handling their relationship in this one. Um, Chris Pratt, I think, just kills it every time as Star Lord. He's one of those guys that is just when he's on screen, I don't know, you just he's a movie star. It's just what he is, you know. And he's proven that, and he was able to take this character and Star Lord and make him into um, a fan favorite for sure, a household name. And I'm glad that he didn't eat it. I'm glad that nobody ate it in this movie because, like I said, from the trailers, they're really wanting you to think that someone was going to eat it in this movie. And they really wanted you to think that Rocket was. And I think, if you follow the stories behind the scenes, everyone knows that Dave Bautista said he's done playing Drax. He's not coming back. And we all know this is the third and the final film. So someone has to crap out, right? But thankfully, no one does. Um, but they really wanted you to think that, right? But like I said, I could have dealt with some of those scenes cut out of the trailer. Um, it would have made the movie, the impact of certain scenes even hit even more. Um, but yeah, overall, I thought all those aspects of the film really worked. Um, it was a little long. It felt a little long, to be honest, but maybe it was just the theater that I was in, and little kids asking questions the whole time, people coughing all the time during funny moments, during sad moments, people walking, hitting the back of your seat through the aisles. Is just all the lovely things we love about movie theaters. But none of that still took away my enjoyment of this movie. Um, that's how much I liked it. Um, I can't wait to watch it again. I'm gonna miss this crew, and I'm really gonna miss them on the big screen because, like I said, these movies have a special place in my heart for when it comes to the MCU films. Um, and I'm glad this one didn't disappoint, and I'm glad that they were able to make a final film in this trilogy worthwhile and worth the wait. And I think this is a really good way to kind of kick off the start of the summer blockbuster movie season this year. Even though I think the box office isn't as high as maybe some people were thinking for this film, I think the overall enjoyment and score for most people on this movie is going to be high. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy this movie and go see this movie. It might suffer a little bit from superhero fatigue, but I think word of mouth of this movie will make it a big success for Marvel and kind of put everything back on track a little bit when it comes to the superhero movies. Um, and I knew it would. I called it. As soon as we kind of saw a first glimpse of what this movie was going to be, I was all in. I knew that the movie was going to be good. I knew that there was no way that this group of actors and actresses and James Gunn, just everyone involved in this movie, and kind of how it all started with James Gunn getting canned because of some old tweets that he made, and then the whole cast and crew coming out and saying we're not doing Guardians 3 without James Gunn, and all them having his back, and then Marvel having to re-sign James Gunn again and kind of apologize everything, and then um, just the whole lead up to this movie from the beginning um, has been a crazy roller coaster. But I'm glad that they were able to just put everything together and still execute on the project. Like I said, I'm really gonna miss these characters because this movie gave me a lot of memorable scenes that um, I definitely look forward to going back and rewatching again. Like I said, everyone involved really killed it. Um, I thought the CGI was really good as well. Um, the end credit scenes now, um, the first one is kind of just pretty much the mid credit, and you kind of see what the Guardians of the Galaxy looks like now with Cosmo. Rocket is the new leader. Groot is obviously there. You got Adam Warlock. Um, these are kind of like the new ragtag Guardians of the Galaxy crew, which I'm cool with. Um, actually, really dig the crew. Um, and we also see Peter Quill when he goes and meets his grandpa. Says Peter Quill will return Star Lord, which is a big W, I think, for the MCU. I think you got to keep this group of characters around as much as you can for future projects. Um, I know Zoe Saldana and Dave Bautista have both said that they're pretty much done with Marvel movies or these characters specifically. Um, so they could be gone. That's cool. Mantis is out doing her thing with her weird animal creature pets now, and um, this is the new crew, and we still got Star Lord coming back, which is a W. Um, everything about this movie is just a big W for the MCU, and I'm glad I didn't wait to go see it because, like I said, avoiding spoilers in this day and age is one of the toughest things to do when it comes to not seeing things you want to see on the internet when it comes to movies and TV shows and whatnot. But it's the world we it's the world we live in. But yeah, I'm just like I said, I really dug this movie. I can't wait to see it again. I really want to know what everyone else thinks of this movie. If they loved it as much as I did. Um, like I said, I'm trying to think of where I would rank this movie in the MCU for my top five, or top 10 at least. Because Guardians 1, Thor Ragnarok, Civil War, Infinity War, and I would probably say, damn, what is my fifth one? See, like I said, I gotta think about this, y'all. Maybe Iron Man 1, just because that's the one that I remember so vividly seeing that for the first time and just how it's so OG. But um, I don't know. I could rewatch Guardians 3 again and it could crack my top five because I think that fifth spot is kind of always interchangeable with me. So you never know. I could rewatch this again with no um, kids talking next to me or people coughing all around me and people bumping the back of my seat or whatnot at a movie. If I just sit down, watch it on my own in the comfort of my own television, it could crack my top five. You never know. Um, and yeah, like I said, this movie is awesome. Everyone did awesome in it. I think every character had their good arc and their own good moments. Nebula, Groot even has some. Groot always has cool moments in these movies. He always has some cool action set piece with him doing some kind of new power, and sure enough, he gets his in this one as well. Um, yeah, obviously, like I said, the music always on point. Um, and yeah, this is definitely the best movie I've seen this year. Um, it's gonna be pretty hard to top, to be honest. I'm wondering if Flash could do it. I don't know. Um, but I think this movie is definitely going to be in my top three of the year when it's all said and done. And it's crazy because right before, I want to say at the beginning of this year, um, I was live streaming the Guardians of the Galaxy video game on Twitch. Which, if you're not following me on Twitch, go and follow me on all my socials. But my Twitch is at Admire My Moonsault, and my Instagram is at Admire My Moonsault as well. But on Twitch, I was live streaming the Guardians of the Galaxy video game. And if you haven't played the newest Guardians of the Galaxy video game, it's just a single player story campaign. But I'm telling you, do not sleep on this video game. Um, it has such a cool story. It has nothing to do with the movies, but it kind of makes you feel like you're familiar with the crew, even though they're not the same one from the films. They still kind of give you that same vibe. But the High Evolutionary is the main bad guy in the video game as well. And he does some crazy stuff. Adam Warlock's in the video game too, which I'll touch on a little bit in a little bit now that I just kind of reminded myself of Adam Warlock. But yeah, like I'm telling you, this video game, the Guardians of the Galaxy video game, go and play it. I'm pretty sure it's not even that expensive anymore. Um, you won't be disappointed. The story, the action, the humor in the video game is everything you would want out of a Guardians of the Galaxy video game. Way better than that Avengers game. If you play that Avengers game, I'm telling you, this Guardians of the Galaxy game poops on that game. But yeah, Adam Warlock. I actually thought I didn't mind Adam Warlock in this movie because we've all been waiting for Adam Warlock to pop in a movie ever since that end credit scene, and I don't even remember which MCU movie that was that long ago, but it was forever ago. And we've been waiting for him, and now that we finally get to see him in action, I'm pretty sure a lot of hardcore Adam Warlock fans are going to be pretty butthurt on what they do with him in this movie. But um, I didn't mind it. Uh, I do wish that we get to see the true Adam Warlock in all of his glory eventually. Um, which, if you hear in this movie, he was in that tank or whatever, and they say that the High Evolutionary took him out too soon, which is why he's kind of the way he is in this movie. But I thought he was funny. I thought he was um, like just a cool character, side character in this movie. I didn't think he had to be um, too much than what he was. The actor, I thought, did a good job. He had a lot of good comedic moments. Um, he was gold. He was fit in shape. He looked good in the part. I'm pretty sure it's just not what some people wanted from Adam Warlock, which I fully understand. If I was a hardcore Adam Warlock fan, I'd be like, "What the hell is this dude?" But hey, I mean, MCU does that, and they're always going to do that, and it's just whether or not it lands with you or it doesn't. But for me, Adam Warlock, it was cool. Um, but yeah, I mean, I could honestly say a whole lot more of this movie, but I think I'll pretty much just end it right there and tell you go see this movie. Um, I can't wait to see it again, and I'm glad that the MCU is back. Maybe I don't know. We'll see. But again, follow me on Twitch at Admire My Moonsault. Follow me on Instagram at Admire My Moonsault. Like, comment, subscribe. New video coming out this Wednesday. Don't worry, I got you. But that's all I got right now. Until then, y'all have a great rest of y'all's week. Y'all stay safe, and I'll catch y'all on the flip. Peace.